Hello again, friends. Steve here, and today I'm going to talk about something called controlling fear. Fear is a natural occurrence, right? It's a natural reaction that takes place within us. I'm not going to go into any explanation as to what actually is the mechanism behind it because, quite frankly, I don't know. I'm like you, I experience it, right? I did a version of this presentation this evening at an event, and it was a role playing thing, so I had other people involved with it. So I'll just recount some of the stuff that went on. And this event was a public speaking event, so I'm part of the coaching of that club. So the idea is to help people to overcome their fears, right? Because fears eventually turn into anxieties, and they can actually shut us down, debilitate us, right? So, but yet, communication is such a valuable thing to learn and thing to practice. For this, I've used this analogy before, but it's like a mental exercise that can strengthen us mentally, right? In the same way that if we go to a gym or involve ourselves in some sort of a physical activity, we can get stronger, we can get more stamina, we can get more cardiovascular endurance, more strength, more power. And we can take that strength and development and use it in any areas of our lives. Chase after the grandkids, ride a bike better, stand up longer at work, stay awake longer, be more attentive. When the blood is pumping and the body's working better because of physical fitness, we get to perform better, right? That makes sense. Well, the same on the mental side, right? If we are debilitated in the same way if we're debilitated physically because we're out of shape, if we're debilitated because of fears that are getting in the way, and we want to do something about it, there's probably no arena that's better as an exercise than subjecting ourselves to one of those greatest anxiety-provoking situations, which is public presentation, because we put ourselves into those situations that are troubling and triggering for us. I liken it a little bit to somebody going shopping, and you've seen it before, especially ladies often do it. You'll see that at a store like Sears or I don't know where else, JCPenney or whatever it is. There'll be somebody walking along with an armful of clothes and they're heading for the dressing room. In the dressing room, they feel safe to try on what they're going to try on, and they look at it from different angles and so on. Don't like it, whatever. Well, a public speaking club is like that. It's not the real world, right? Just like the fitting room is not the real world. You can look as ridiculous as you want, as whatever you want, doesn't work, you can get naked, and it's fine. You're in a safe space. You wouldn't do it elsewhere. And the same with public speaking clubs, where you wouldn't go out and do a presentation in front of a crowd of 500 people without some practice. Maybe some people can. But in a public speaking club, we get to subject ourselves to many of the same triggers, but we know rationally it's a safe place. We're not on a political campaign. Nobody's going to pie our face, or we don't have to wear a bulletproof vest. People are going to be supportive of us. So we can know that rationally, and we are in a smaller group usually, and one step at a time, we can get accustomed to the situation, and placate some of those fears and reduce the effect of those anxieties. Now, anxieties can show up as a result of things like new and unknown situations, the risk of failure, potential of appearing foolish, or the possibility of boring, or the feeling that I'm going to bore somebody, right? I'm not good enough for all those people, right? So why the hell would I even say anything? Or I'm going to look like a fool, right? And, how many of us, I certainly have looked like a fool, or certainly felt like that many times. And if we experience these things, sometimes it's a good idea for us to get a sense of what it is that's going on so that we can maybe do something about it, right? So the effects of fear that brings on the anxiety, then it comes right down into the body and physically affects the body. I'll tell you a little story. I might have said it before. When I first got involved with this 7 years ago or so, I actually joined the speaking organization called Toastmasters for the reason that I had to deal with this. Because I was at an event where I had to speak for about 10 people. I was okay one-on-one, but about 10 people, and I froze. Completely froze, to the point where I could not even read my notes. It was blurry, right? And sure enough, I look at these symptoms that are laid out in this program, little points that they talk about in terms of anxiety. Increased heart rate, butterflies in the stomach, uncontrollable shaking, lightheadedness, and dizziness. That's what I experienced. Couldn't see anything. I was complete. It was just shut down. It's like, sorry, folks. I couldn't hardly say that. It was just wretched, wretched fear. So the question is, what can we do about it, right? Well, like so many things, the first thing we can do is it's called managing. We got to manage it. It's not like we're ever going to get rid of this. I actually heard one time Shania Twain in an interview, and somebody asked her, do you still get nervous on the stage? She said, of course. And that surprised me, because here I was thinking of somebody who had been on a stage how many times, maybe 1,000 times, in front of large crowds, thousands of people, and she still gets nervous? Like, what the hell? What is there for me here, So, but you learn how to deal with it, though, right? And I remember another interview one time it was Keith Richards, I like Keith Richards, actually. I think he's pretty brilliant, but he's like this old, preserved, crusty old guy who can't die because he's been so chemicalized over the years, right? But he was talking about one time, he was talking to these black guys in Chicago years and years ago, and he couldn't figure out how they could just go from show after show and not pass out. And they told him, you take a little bit of this and take a little bit of that, you can go for days, Of course, that's not what I'm suggesting. But I used to do that, honestly. Years ago, in my bar going days, the only way I could talk to a girl was to get half the tank or more than half in the tank. And then, of course, I would be the fool. I remember one time there was a girl I actually dumped by mistake because I was moving something, my arms or whatever. And I dumped a complete, liter, or a pint of beer all over her, right? So that wasn't very successful at all. Not very smooth. A fool, right? But experience, that's the first one. Experience. If we practice something over and over again, we try it over again, it softens it down because we start to realize that, like we understand rationally that in a club setting or in most settings, how many people actually die, of public speaking? They don't, right? But we practice it, it softens it. Never goes away completely, it softens it. We learn how to manage it. The next one is visualization. And visualization it sounds a little hokey. It sounds like, we got to go into some voodoo thing or whatever. But don't think about it. Somebody who builds a house, what do? They don't just run out in the field somewhere and start building a house. There's a planning phase, right? They plan it. They have blueprints. They go through it, strategize this, that room, and so on. They're seeing it on paper and whatever. They're creating it in this fantasy world. Then they go and build it. We do that the same thing with presentations. We can strategize and practice and go over our notes and look at it and organize and rehearse and get feedback, right? All this sort of stuff. And we can also visualize and relax ahead of time, breathing exercises or whatever, then go up and we're prepared. That's what visualization is. It prepares us for doing a better job, right? And the final thing is relaxing as a way to manage anxiety. Now this to me sounded like the most ridiculous thing I ever heard when I got involved with public speaking, because I was thinking, well, how the hell do you relax when you're under this anxiety? It sounded impossible. But to me what I realized was that it's a mix, right? There's things going on that we can relax about. We can tell ourselves we can relax about this. Look, I'm not going to get a pie in the face. I'm in a comfortable area here. I'm in a safe area. So I'm going to realize that. I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to put my energy, relocate the energy of the fear, if it will, into enthusiasm for the actual presentation. And not worry about tripping and falling and not feeling good enough and all this sort of thing. So that's kind of the way. And we can help ourselves through breathing exercise and a little bit of exercise ahead of time. And that can help with the relaxation as well. So it's important. And coming back to the beginning then, which was using this as kind of like an exercise, as in physical exercise for the mind. It's quite known that public speaking, public presentations is the most fearful activity that most people imagine themselves in. Some people say that people would rather be die than to go up on a stage. So if we put ourselves up against one of the most challenging things in life, then a lot of other things seem not so bad, right? So it helps with our confidence. So to summarize it up then, coming back to the dressing room, if we can use settings where we can try on for size what works for us, try vocal variety, try expressions, and try connecting with people in ways that work for communication, and we challenge our fears, we reduce the anxieties, we become more effective in life, even in our relationships and so on. And we all experience anxieties. I think, I could be wrong, I certainly do, and most people I've ever talked to have. The good news is we can deal with it. We can do something about it. In the same way we can deal with being out of shape, being overweight, whatever, we can work on it, and in time we can get better. Hopefully this was helpful. Steve here again with a few tips that I have learned. Hopefully they're helpful for you on becoming less fearful and more confident in life. All the best. Talk to you soon.